Hi everyone, and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm going to be making with you a mole de cacahuate, a red peanut mole. And even though it's a tiny bit involved, this is something that I think you're going to want to come back to over and over again. So it fits into the category of dishes I think you should know by heart. This is the simplest mole that you could perhaps make, certainly the red chili variety. And so it satisfies very much people who want to learn to make mole but don't have days and days to do that. This one is something that I learned in Mexico City. Some people would call it a pipián because it really focuses the flavor of peanuts that thicken it rather than the chilies, which are usually about half of the bulk of a regular red mole. This recipe really focuses on ancho chile, which is this one that I have. But the person that taught this to me called it a mole, not a pipián. So this is a mole de cacahuate. It's a red chili peanut mole. When you're working with the ancho chiles, first of all, you want to make sure that you choose ones that are very pliable. They shouldn't be like rigid in any way. Those are usually old ones that have dried out too much. And then you pull the stem out of them and then tear them open and let the seeds fall out onto your countertop or into a bowl. And then make sure you get all the seeds out of the inside of it. Not that they're going to change the flavor or anything, so you don't have to be too meticulous, but you really don't need them in there at all. So I've got those two there. I'm going to get rid of all of the seeds and the stems here into my compost bowl. And then I've got some onion and some garlic. I'm going to just need a small amount of onion, like if it was a really small onion here. This is more of a medium-sized one, so I'm doing half of it. And then I have a pot over here that's kind of over a medium-high heat, and I'm going to film it with oil on the bottom. Now, this is like a Dutch oven. This is where we're going to cook the mole, but I'm going to do this first step in here as well. And we're going to scoop in the onion. And I've got a couple cloves of garlic that I've already peeled here. Those are going to go in. And then these two ancho chiles, we want to tear them into smaller pieces so that they can toast right along with the sauteing onions and garlic here. The ancho will fill the kitchen with its beautiful aroma, and you will notice that it will change colors as it toasts. It will lighten up on the inside of the chili. So I'm going to stir this around it'll take probably about 7 or 8 minutes for this to toast right. And I'll show you what it looks like when everything has cooked right and the chili is toasted. Let me show you what I was talking about changing color here. You can see on the inside of the chili that it's gotten much lighter. It's sort of chocolate brown, and before it was a cranberry red. Okay, so that's what I meant. And this went a little faster than I thought, more like about 5 minutes or so on the toasting of this. And again, I use my olfactory senses a lot when cooking. I want to make sure that I can smell that those beautiful ancho chiles got nicely toasted there. Okay, so I got to get all of these pieces out because we're going to cook our mole in this same pot, so I don't want any pieces of onion left behind to burn. And then what makes this so easy? Well, number one is you don't toast the chilies separate from the sauteing of the onions and garlic. Second thing is everything goes into the same blender jar. So this mole is thickened with bread. So I've got 2 pieces of white bread here that are going to go in here. In Mexico, I'd probably get a bolillo. And I have some fire roasted tomatoes in the can. This just makes everything go very easily here. You don't have to roast the tomatoes separately, but I need about 2/3 of this can, and juice and all can go in here. So that looks like about the right amount there. I have some spices here. This is cinnamon and allspice, very classic in a red mole. So I'll put those in there. Little chipotle is going to give us sweetness and smokiness, and as well as a little bit more heat than what you would normally get in the ancho chili that's there. So we'll get some of these guys out of here, a couple of them. If you like it spicier, you could put more in if you like that, but a couple of, I'm going to put a little bit of the canning liquid in there as well. We've got our toasted peanuts. This is sort of the namesake of this dish. And then I've got a 1.5 cups of broth that's going to go in here as well. And we're going to blend all of this until it's as smooth as we can get it. I think that looks really beautiful, very smooth. We're going to come back to the pot now and film it with oil, just enough to coat the whole bottom of the pot. There should be some left from the initial saute of the chilies and such. And now when this is hot enough, I had turned it way down, but I put it back up to about a medium high now. And when I can hear a good sizzle like that, I'm going to add this mixture all at once. And we're going to stir this around. And it'll take a few minutes for it to reduce, darken in color, and thicken up to the consistency of almost tomato paste. I'll show you what that looks like when we get to it. So come over here and you can see how it's darkened, and you can, as you stir through it, and I really encourage you to always stir this as at this stage, you can see the bottom of the pot. It's that thick now that every swipe through it with my wooden spatula here, you can see the bottom of the pot. This is a very essential step to fusing all of the flavors in any kind of mole that you're making. This one being a very simple one that has fewer steps and fewer ingredients than most. Okay, so now we have the base of this mole cooked down. We've blended the flavors, couple more cups of a light chicken broth go in here. And this is the point at which you have to make a decision where you want these flavors to go. You can go adding some chocolate to it, making it more like a sort of classic mole flavors. It will bring out the sweetness and the natural fruitiness of the ancho chiles and the chipotle chiles. Or you can make it go more savory, savory being more focused on the nuts than the chiles themselves. So if you're going to go sweet, you're going to add chocolate. So like the round Mexican chocolate, you'll chop that up and add it. For savory, which is what I'm going to show you today because it's sort of unexpected for mole making, is to put a little bit of red wine in it. And I've got a couple of bay leaves here. And when you do this, so half a cup of red wine is going to go in, a couple of bay leaves. We'll stir that all in. But when you go that direction, it really helps to bring out a little bit of acidity. So I'm just going to add a little dash of vinegar. I'm using an apple cider vinegar here, but it really helps to balance things, to have that little bit of acidity, which you don't need at all if you're going to go with the Mexican chocolate. So we're going to let this simmer now for about an hour or so for all the flavors to come together. I'm going to lower the temperature. I'm going to go find the top to this pot so that I can set it sort of askew so we don't have too much evaporation, but set it askew. Don't set it firmly down on there, because if you put it firmly down there, it'll create pressure, which will push everything to the bottom and make it stick, okay? So that's why you set the top just askew here. And I will meet you back here when this has simmered, and we'll season this together. Okay, ready to finish this dish. I will tell you, it has really perfumed this kitchen. It smells so good. That mole smell, the nuts and the chilies and the sweet spices and everything is just, it's so wonderful. Make sure that nothing is sticking at all on the bottom. If it's got a little skin on the top of it, make sure to whisk that back in. It'll just dissolve right into it. Okay, now it's time to do the seasoning of this, and we've chosen to go down that path that's a bit more savory, the path that really focuses a bit more of the nut flavor here. So I'm going to taste it and see where we are. Oh, there's a lot going on here. Okay, so I got to balance it all with salt to start. And this is what I always suggest to everybody, even if you're making a sweeter mole, that you want to start with the salt part of this. And it'll take a little bit more than you think of salt. A pot like this will be needing something around a couple teaspoons of salt to season it. Okay, now we are really in that savory world where it's a nutty sauce, but you're really not getting any of that ancho chili that's there. You get a little of the heat of the ancho chili, but you don't really get much of its fruitiness. So a little bit of sugar will bring out that fruitiness. And really in any kind of mole, you need to have some sweet, or otherwise you just lose the chilies. They go back in the background of flavor there. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to put just another pinch of that sugar in it, and I think we're exactly where we need to be. So whisk that up, and then I'm going to ladle it over the chicken. So this could be chicken thighs if you wanted to. I just wanted to make this very simple. So boneless, skinless is exactly what we want to go to, whether it's the thighs, which will be a little juicier, or I'm working with the breasts here. You have to be very careful not to overcook the breasts, because of course then they would be quite dry. With a ladle, I'm just going to ladle the hot mole now over. Let me grab this with a towel. I'm going to ladle it all over the chicken. All right, look at how beautiful and silky that mole is there. Next thing is just to slide it into the oven. I've got it heated to 350 degrees, and I'm gonna let this cook for about 30 minutes. I had some really nice thick chicken breasts, and that's gonna take about 30 minutes since we put that mole on hot, and I will meet you back here when they're ready. This chicken, to make sure that the chicken was done, I will tell you, like most chefs, I do that by touch. But if you want to go in with an instant read thermometer, you want these to be around 150 to 60 degrees. That way they won't be overcooked, but just look how beautiful that is. I'm going to take one of them out of here so that I can then re-sauce everything. But I'm going to make a little portion for myself here, but this sauce needs to be spooned over everything just to make it all look so beautifully fresh. Now this looks really beautiful just the way that it is, but I will say that I usually like to put some kind of garnish on things. And so for this one, I would say chopped up toasted peanuts is probably the way to go. I have a bunch of parsley over here, and that would be the right flavor to go with it, more than say cilantro would be. So I'm just going to take some of the leaves off of this and just let them kind of fall over the cooked chicken here. Put some here on my portion of it. I don't have enough sauce here, so I'm going to take a little of this sauce to go over mine as well. And now the payoff, okay? A very simple mole to make. I think one that satisfies very much as a mole. And something that you could do very simple and straightforward, which is to bake the chicken breast or the chicken thighs in that mole. And you've got, I would say, one of the most company-worthy dishes you can without a whole lot of fuss.